Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're immersing ourselves in a really remarkable story. Anna Lyndsey's memoir, Girl in the Dark.
Yes, it's a powerful one. We're drawing mainly from excerpts, chapter summaries, and some background on Anna herself to understand her experience.
Exactly. And what we really want to do here, is get a feel for her journey, how she dealt with this extreme light sensitivity that forced her into darkness.
Right, about the challenges, obviously, but also how she managed, how she coped day to day.
And the insights she gained living that way. It's quite profound. Okay, let's get into it.
Well, before all this started, Anna Lyndsey's life was, pretty standard. She had her job, a comfortable home.
A future that looked, well, normal, right? Full of possibilities like anyone else.
Pretty much. But then the symptoms began. It wasn't sudden, more like a gradual creep.
Starting with just slight discomfort, maybe. Things we might dismiss.
Exactly. Sensitivity to bright lights, computer screens. But it escalated. It became unbearable pain from, well, ordinary light sources. Sunlight, even indoor lights.
Wow. Things we just live with every day. Makes you stop and think how much we just take light for granted.
Completely. And the way she described the physical sensations, it's intense.
Yeah, what does she say? Excruciating pain.
Uh-huh. And a burning feeling on her skin, intense pressure inside her head. Just imagining that kind of reaction to simple light is, well, it's difficult.
It really challenges your basic understanding of how the world works, doesn't it?
It does. And trying to get answers wasn't easy either.
No, I gathered that. Lots of doctor visits, specialists.
Right. And getting all sorts of different diagnoses, often unclear, and crucially, no effective treatment seemed to work.
That must have been incredibly frustrating. The physical suffering and then the medical uncertainty on top of it.
Profoundly discouraging, I'd imagine. You're dealing with something debilitating and the experts can't quite pin it down or fix it.
Yeah. So that lack of answers, that lack of treatment, it basically forced her into a completely different way of life.
It did. Which leads us to the immediate, huge impact.
Yeah.
Isolation. Her world just shrank.
Confined to darkened rooms, right? Heavy curtains blocking everything out.
Absolutely. A life that was once, filled with light suddenly became perpetual darkness.
It really makes you consider how much we rely on sight, maybe subconsciously, as our main way of navigating everything.
Definitely. So her home turns into this fortress against light. Blackout curtains, heavy blankets covering any gaps.
A sanctuary, but also maybe a prison in some ways.
Perhaps. And suddenly, everyday tasks, things you do without thinking, they become major hurdles.
Like cooking or cleaning. How do you even manage that in total darkness?
Meticulously. It required immense preparation, careful planning, and importantly, an acceptance that things wouldn't be perfect. You have to let go of certain standards.
You really depend on visual cues for so much, even just finding things or knowing if something's clean.
Right. But what's fascinating is how she adapted, the coping mechanisms she developed.
Yeah, the practical stuff. Tell us about that.
Well, audio became absolutely crucial. Audiobooks, music, the radio, these were her connections to the outside world.
Kept her mind stimulated, connected her to stories, news.
Exactly. It filled the sensory void in a way and helped combat the feeling of being cut off. It shows that deep human need for input, for connection.
And it wasn't just passive consumption, was it? She was actively engaging her mind, too.
Oh, absolutely. She started learning languages, getting into poetry, even writing herself. These became sort of therapeutic outlets.
Keeping her intellect sharp, finding new ways to express herself despite the limitations. The mind's resilience is amazing.
It really is. And alongside that, there were psychological strategies too. Developing resilience.
How did she do that?
Setting small, achievable goals was really important. Things like organizing a drawer just by touch or memorizing passages of text.
Giving herself a sense of accomplishment, of agency within this very constrained reality.
Precisely. And establishing routines. Having a structure to the day, even in darkness, provided a sense of normalcy, a way to fight against time feeling endless or formless.
That structure seems vital when your external cues, like daylight, are gone.
Definitely. And then there was the huge challenge of managing the isolation itself.
Yeah, that must have been incredibly difficult. How did she cope with that aspect?
It's quite remarkable, actually. She found ways to, vicariously enjoy sunlight. Through memory, through visualization.
Really, like actively recalling sunny days or places?
Yes. Using her mind to create those sensations, those experiences. It's a powerful testament to the mind's ability to generate its own reality, find comfort internally.
And relaxation techniques, mindfulness, those help too.
They seem to play a big part, yeah. helping her navigate the sheer weight of being so cut off. It makes you wonder about our inner resources when the external world shrinks.
It really does.
Hmm.
Because the emotional toll, the loneliness, the despair, the sources suggest that was just as crippling as the physical pain.
Absolutely. That lack of sensory input, being disconnected, it's hard for us to truly grasp the impact on your fundamental sense of self, of being in the world.
And the social side suffered too, inevitably.
Yeah, friendships, work connections, they started to fade. Maybe people didn't understand or didn't know how to help, how to interact.
That must have compounded the loneliness, feeling those connections weaken. It highlights how hard it is, both for the person suffering and for those around them.
Definitely. And all of this leads to this feeling of, well, losing your identity.
Because so much of how we define ourselves is tied to what we do, who we interact with, our passions.
Exactly. Not being able to work, socialize like before, pursue old hobbies. It raises those big existential questions. Who am I now? What's my purpose?
So faced with all that, how did she maintain any hope? What kept her going?
Structure seems key again. Those routines we talked about, schedules for rest, for listening, for activities she could do in the dark. That framework was vital.
Like an anchor in the uncertainty.
Kind of. It suggests that even without external rhythms, you can create internal ones for stability.
And imagination, you mentioned that earlier.
Hugely important. Creating vivid mental landscapes, getting lost in audiobooks, drawing on memories. These were essential escapes. Temporary, yes, but vital.
Shows the mind's power to find freedom, even within physical confinement. The resilience of the human spirit, really.
It does, but she wasn't entirely alone in this. Her support system was absolutely critical.
Right, her partner, Pete. He sounds like an incredible figure in the story.
He really does. The book portrays him as a lifeline caregiver, confidant, just a constant source of strength and patience, immense patience.
It makes you think about what that kind of unwavering support means when someone's going through something so profound.
And his support wasn't just passive, it was active. He helped arrange the living space, yes, but also actively found ways to bring moments of joy by keeping her connected, talking about his day, bringing music, just sharing the outside world through conversation. It's that proactive, empathetic support that goes beyond just basic care.
That connection seems so crucial. But it wasn't just Pete, right? Other family and friends played a role too.
Yes, though maybe less frequently. Visits required careful planning because of the light sensitivity, but those connections still provided important emotional grounding.
Just knowing people are there, thinking of you, even if contact is difficult, that must make a difference.
A huge difference. It combats that feeling of being completely forgotten or alone.
And there's that interesting balance too, isn't there, between needing help and wanting to maintain some independence.
Absolutely. Striving for self-sufficiency where possible, while having to accept help for many things. It's a tension many people with chronic conditions face.
So the overall psychological impact of having that support network, it's massive.
Immense. It alleviates some of that emotional burden, the despair, the helplessness. It provides validation, understanding, a buffer against the solitude.
It really underlines that fundamental human need for connection, especially when things get tough.
Definitely. Now, interestingly, even in this world of almost total darkness, there are these moments described as moments of light.
Literal light,
Yeah.
or metaphorical.
Both, actually. Those rare times she could experience even a tiny bit of actual physical light became incredibly precious, sources of intense joy.
Makes you think about sensory experiences we barely register.
Totally. She talks about twilight escapes, for instance. Just being able to savor the muted glow of a sunset.
After complete darkness, that must have felt electric, alive.
Exactly. A tangible connection to the world, bringing feelings of deep gratitude, wonder, just for natural light. It shows how powerful fleeting sensations can become when they're rare.
And even tiny bits of light inside the house.
Uh-huh. Carefully controlled moments, maybe a tiny sliver of sunlight allowed in, or the soft glow from a very low wattage lamp. These became almost like mindful rituals.
Bringing comfort, a connection to her before life.
Right. And light wasn't just physical. Memories provided light too.
Reflecting on life before the illness, past holidays, sunny days.
Yes. Those became mental escapes, moments of brightness within her mind, memory as a sustaining force.
And her other senses became more heightened, didn't they? Compensating.
It seems so. Music could paint pictures in her mind. She learned Braille to keep reading tactilely, the warmth of touch. These things added richness and dimension when sight was gone. Shows how adaptable our senses can be.
So coming to terms with this reality, accepting it, that wasn't like flipping a switch, I assume.
Not at all. The sources are clear. It was a gradual process. Ups and downs, setbacks and breakthroughs. Adaptation rarely happens overnight.
It involves really grappling with the chronic nature of it,
Yeah.
a pragmatic acceptance.
Yes, acknowledging this is the new reality. Not resignation exactly, but redirecting energy. Focusing on living within the limitations, rather than constantly fighting against them.
That shift in perspective seems crucial for navigating something long-term,
It is, and creativity played a big role in that adaptation.
like finding new ways to engage with her passions.
Exactly. Her love of literature shifted to audiobooks. Writing became this vital, personal outlet for processing and communicating.
Finding new channels when the old ones close off. And her actual living space adapted too.
Right. It evolved. From just being dark to being a carefully arranged sanctuary. Blackout methods became more refined, special lighting used strategically, furniture placed for easier navigation by touch, proactive adaptation.
And that constant self-reflection seems important too.
Yes.
Checking in with herself, evaluating how she was coping, seeking new strategies.
Very much an active process. Adaptation requires that conscious effort, that self-awareness.
Ultimately, this story, Girl in the Dark, it feels like it goes beyond just the illness itself. It's really about resilience.
I think so. The sources emphasize that resilience isn't just something you have, it's something you build. By facing adversity, by keeping going even when hope feels dim, every challenge teaches you something about your own strength.
And it completely reframes what a meaningful life looks like, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Those small joys, the fleeting moments of light we talked about, they gain enormous significance. It's a shift where you find fulfillment in things you might have overlooked before. It really prompts you to think about what truly matters.
Yeah, what do we value? And the importance of human connection comes through so strongly.
Definitely. Pete's support, her family, it underscores how crucial compassion and understanding are. We draw so much strength from our relationships.
And acceptance. It's portrayed not as defeat, but almost as empowerment.
That's a good way to put it. Accepting the reality opened up new ways to live, to find joy within the limits. It becomes a way to reclaim agency, in a sense.
Finding strength and peace, not by changing the external situation, which she couldn't, but by changing her relationship to it.
Exactly. And through all this, there's this sense of inner growth, discovering reserves of strength, finding purpose in unlikely circumstances. It's a powerful message of hope, really, even from the depths of darkness. It shows that transformation is possible even through immense adversity.
So wrapping up our deep dive on Girl in the Dark, we've really seen Anna Lyndsey's incredible journey of adapting to something most of us can barely imagine. Resilience, finding joy differently, the power of connection, and the transformative nature of acceptance.
Key themes, definitely. And it leaves you, the listener, with something to consider. If faced with sudden major life changes, how might you adapt? How might you find meaning? And what small, everyday things might you cherish more if they were suddenly at risk?
That's a powerful thought. And seriously, if this conversation has intrigued you, the full memoir offers so much more depth and nuance. It's a truly remarkable read about an extraordinary experience.